Welcome, slightly ignorant motherfuckers, to another episode of the Slightly Ignorant.
Yo.
This week we got Justin. Justin, your mind. How you doing, man?
It is, man. I'm good, man.
Thanks for coming
having
up.
me on, dude.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's a dope Max.
Max?
Max.
Max? Please. Nah,
keep it going. Fuck it. That's a dope mask.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's well, first of all, shout out to Winston J. Hernandez and Zentez for helping me make this piece. I'm pretty responsible for the design. The shit's been like swimming in my head for years, and I needed somebody to make that shit come to life. And thankfully, shout out to y'all.
So what's the whole story behind the mask?
I don't know. It's weird. To be honest, Justin Your Mind is a sort of like interface with me, and like, I guess if you follow Carl Jung and the unconscious, like,
Who's that?
Psychologist dude.
No.
Carl Jung? No?
Never heard of him.
Fuck. Well, anyways, he has like this philosophy of like, there's within people a general unconscious that swims within them. Sort of like layers to yourself. And for me, when I started making music, I was getting into like Eastern thought and like sort of like, I guess what you call like psychedelic type of shit.
Like Confucius type of shit.
Yeah, man. Well, Confucius is, to me, he sounds like a fucking asshole, to be honest with you. Dude sounded like he was just way too orderly about stuff. But, the general approach to Justin Your Mind was basically, the world of the mind and like subtle reality and like weird stuff. And I, used the play on words. Basically, aim and shit. Like, there was a time where like everybody was like, oh, okay, cool. Let me do some cool shit with my name,
Oh, like the AOL AIM shit?
Exactly. So like, our boy Jazz, Ninjazz. And I was like, yo, you know what? That's cool. That's fly. Let me come up with some shit. But like, I don't want to do some corny shit like just in case or fucking just in time. Cause fucking
Justin, that sounds dope. Just in time.
So Just in Your Mind, man. Yeah.
I think Just in Your Mind sounds better.
It was, that's where the name came up. And I felt like it fit pretty nicely with the general philosophies I was exploring on my fucking phone. And yeah, I mean, for me, it's a affirmation in a sense. This is pretty long-winded, guys, by the way. So
no, that's fine.
I'm not sure if I could fully articulate like the whole philosophy of the name and the mask in one setting, but the pieces that I can articulate, it's a way of exploring parts of my psyche, parts of like sort of strange boundaries that I don't know if are across the music in terms of sound, in terms of like what's spoken lyrically, content-wise. And yeah, the mask is a symbol to that, like of the unseen, the unconscious, the the weirder parts of reality.
That's dope.
Yeah,
that's really dope.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Now, that inspiration, did it come from like when you're on psychedelics or anything like that?
Nah, man, not at all, dude. It was man, dude, I cannot be like freaking 13, 14, 15,
tripping balls on
tripping
shrooms.
balls in my room. Hey, dad, like, just leave me be, dude. Nah, basically, it just seemed pretty cool. I'm pretty inspired by Daft Punk. Those dudes, they came out with the helmet. Like, I was mesmerized by them. I thought like the whole idea of like having a sort of character you play as, and then also protecting your privacy, not like, it's anything to hunt down for, but it's just like their focus was the music.
Just the music,
and,
right.
And less about them personally. So, they spun it in a creative way. So this mask is kind of like in line with that philosophy. Like, I use it as a sort of shield from my own ego. I don't know where this thing's going to go or not, how far it'll take off. But I never wanted to get to a point where my own ego is clouding my ability to make honest music.
Right.
And yeah,
because I think a lot of times our egos get in the way of a lot of things, especially when it comes to like creating like creative stuff.
Yeah. And
also like just for the whole like broader sense of like ego just holds somebody's creativity down. Yeah,
for sure. That's totally in alignment with like my philosophy behind it and like my philosophy behind the mask in general. The ego is a beautiful thing because it's dual. It's like it's you, but then not the full you, because it's very limited. That might be a snapshot of how you might perceive yourself to be at a moment in time. But like, you know, if you stick to that forever, like, you know, there's other rich parts of you can't.
You're not gonna explore ever, right?
So yeah,
exactly.
I think yeah.
So how do you describe yourself as an artist?
I'm a kind of a weird dude. I don't know. I feel like artists, like, they're kind of, there's just, everybody's an artist to a degree. I feel like it's weird because art is sort of like on the boundary of things, and typically there's like a disdain for a sort of hierarchical structure. But on the real, like, even within artistry, like, there is like in hierarchy. So somebody might say, "Oh man, nah, you're not an artist because X, Y, and Z." So damn it, hold on, I'm pretty long-winded. Like, what was the question again?
It's like, what do you describe yourself?
Oh, as an artist,
yeah.
As an artist, man, I'd say, you know, I'm a dude that's just trying to make very honest music, like, to myself and for the world. Basically, express myself through sound, and try to have people feel what I feel, or, you know, explain myself through music. You know, explore what they might feel. I think the added benefit of having a mask is that, like, it's pretty free form. So, you know, yes, I know I'm me behind the mask. But then I can look at things probably with a clear perspective because, you know, people don't know it's me per se. You know, I can, like, be in certain places and, like, observe things honestly. So as an artist, you know, I'm an observer. I'm a musician. I think I try to transmute philosophies or ideas or feelings into sound. So I guess you could call it a philosopher, or like a teacher or an orator, if you want to call it like that, because the music I have out now, it serves its purpose, but I have a lot of stuff in my vault that, like, you know, I think explores things that are, like, pretty heavy with words and, like, concepts. So it's pretty free form. I like to keep myself very free form. Obviously I'm a form because I'm a human being and I'm rocking a mask, but yeah, I hope that answered your question, though.
Yeah, so you pretty much, not to cut you off or anything like that. So you pretty much, like, suppressing your identity, just let the music speak for itself.
Exactly. You know, like, I mean, I love myself under this mask. It's not like I'm here because, like, oh, you know, I can't. No, nobody's gonna love me. But it's like, you know, it's basically, I find within myself, like, that the work I create through that sort of perspective is greater than my personal ego.
Right.
And yeah, that's basically what it is. Yeah.
So what inspired you, like, to create music? Like, since, you know, how young were you when you started making music?
Dude, that's a tricky question because I don't know. I mean, my parents, they had me when they were pretty young, so, like, you know, I was born and raised with, like, hip hop and R&B. So, you know, a lot of the stuff that was out there in the 90s time, like, on some real hood shit too, like, you know, DMX and Nas and Jay-Z, and my mom, she listened to a lot of, like, beautiful R&B, Sade and Aaliyah, Destiny's Child, stuff like that. All that stuff, you know, naturally you're around it, like, all the time. It's pretty inspiring. I was a pretty nerdy kid, so I didn't really fit the popular mold. And I don't know, something about, like, you know, I think it was like a dark period in my life. And I felt like music was a great place to run to because, you know, you shut off the world. You're in this whole different world that the artist is telling you, particularly with hip hop and rap at first. But then it was kind of weird because, you know, like, I was a nerdy kid and, like, you know, sometimes a hood ass neighborhood and, like, you know, how can I talk about gangster rap and shit? Like, you know, I'm not gonna, I have no interest in going into that, and then two, like, you know, who the fuck am I to even, like, try to front like I'm I'm cut from some, like, thug ass cloth. But don't fuck with me. But yeah, it was basically trying to get into that world of, like, you know, a safe haven where, like, I can be detached from what it was at the time, like, what I felt was a tough reality. And, like, it was just so cool, like, the ability to, like, move things and, like, you know, move people and, like, give motion and, like, that was really cool. I think I really fell in love with it when I discovered Daft Punk. because their stuff was just so wild, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I started making it, I was like, I don't know, I say a range of like 13 to 15. I was always on and off. And you know, when I started making it, basically, it was kind of weird because I was in a hip hop and reggaeton world around me, but then I'm listening to the Daft Punk, which is like French house music, like sometimes techno-y, and like there's this weird like disconnect, like the world around me is one way, but what I want is something else, and then you know what I could do is something else, and you know it was like kind of on and off type stuff. I found Flying Lotus when I was in high school. And like I think from there I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's something I can do. That's something that's like hip hoppy, but then also like so wild, like Daft Punk. And then yeah, I think that's when I started getting a bit more serious, if you want to call it like that. Dude, it was so bad. I had fucking this bad software. I mean, no disrespect to Sony. I'd still like to work with y'all in the future. But like, you know, it was such a simple software, Sony Acid Music Studio. I had no idea what the fuck it did, how to do about it. Like, I just clicked buttons until like something fucking worked. Yeah, and then you know, samples and all that stuff. And then I've learned that my heroes, Daft Punk and Flying Lotus and Justice Mastercraft, like they use samples sometimes in their work, and like they use software and like electronics to make things. And I was like, yo, that's maybe somehow, some way I can get into that too. So yeah, just kind of experimenting at that age, more or less. Yeah, I find my responses are like pretty long-winded.
No, that's totally fine, dude.
Hope you guys out there, you know, are all cool with it.
Gets my job easier.
Cool.
But yeah, dude, that's pretty dope. You know, but in your music, I've listened to a couple of your stuff.
Thank
you seem to mash up hip hop with house music.
Yeah.
So that's like you trying to bring two worlds together, stuff like that.
Yeah. From like a high level, like third dimensional perspective, like I feel like I'm always in the center of duality. And I don't know if that sounds egotistical or not, but like I always felt like I was in between worlds. Like my parents, they were never together. So, you know, you immediately have like the father and the mother.
Right. Either or side kind of thing.
Exactly. You know, you're like caught in between. You're looking for a synthesis, a way of like harmonizing everything, because like, you know, they might argue or whatever. But then, you know, you just want peace and like harmony. You just want things to make sense. And then on each thing on itself, like you love it, you know? So in the case of music, I loved hip hop. Like, there's no way about it, like, you know. But then I was like kind of at odds, because like I liked hip hop, but then it didn't offer me everything I wanted. And then the same thing with house, like, you know, I loved house and techno, whatever, electronic music, but it didn't offer everything that I was or that I wanted. So, you know, finding inspiration from people like Daft Punk or Flying Lotus, and like, you know, recently, like, not recently, because I've been on them for like maybe about like, I don't know, a handful of years or whatever, but like Yeji and Parkhagen, these underground acts, like, you know, well, underground in the sense that like I don't think mass consciousness are aware of them, but you know, they're obviously existing. They obviously exist and do their thing. So yeah, it's an attempt to blend these things and like, you know, bring parts of myself together and like things that I like together. I think it can make sense. You know, structurally, a lot of hip hop, it ranges from like a tempo of like 65 beats per minute to like 90, whatever. It varies, you know. There's always like more creative, whatever. House music is electronic music in general is generally like, you know, 120 beats per minute. Yeah. But like if you do the math, like one is half of the other. So if I got a beat that's going at like 130, right, and the other one's at 65, right, like 65 is just half of 130. Right. I think my math is right. Yeah. And like structurally speaking, like you can match that up, and it's the coolest thing when like you hear something like Paul Wall, like, you know, sitting sideways with some cool ass electronic beat that, like, you know, I don't think either community separately would like think of it, but then like somebody like a producer or an artist or DJ would be like, yo, nah, this fits. So yeah, it's an attempt at like, you know, harmonizing both worlds, and yeah, like, you know, showing that like it can make sense. Like, you know, you don't have to stick to one thing. You know, like music is free and like it should be expressed freely. So
no, absolutely, definitely agree with that. Now, aside from house music and hip hop, what's your like one of your musical guilty pleasure? Do you listen to like country music or anything like that,
Oh,
or like any other sub genres?
oh man, Spice Girls? Nah. Nah, country. I find it beautiful on an intellectual level, but I've never really sat down and like feel it. If you know what I mean.
Well, it doesn't have to be country. It could be like any other music, like classical music. Is there any other like genre of music that you're heavily into that you also get your inspiration from?
Oh, okay.
Aside from
Yeah.
hip hop and house music.
Yeah. I find like guilty. The word like the phrase guilty pleasure is like implying like I shouldn't like it, you know, or like do you really like it?
It's like when you're driving with your homies, you put like hip hop music, and
Okay.
when you drop them off, then you kind of
I can show the real me now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That type of shit. You know?
I find jazz music super incredible, particularly like Miles Davis, Blue Note type of stuff. And it's weird because like I don't know the discography like by my heart, but like no matter what, dude, when I hear stuff like that, like especially that wild jazz music, not so much the elevator type music is cool too, but like Miles Davis's work, like particularly that album Bitches Brew, like that stuff is just so amazing to me. I could just sit down for hours and get lost. Like I would sometimes go to Fat Cat out in the city, and I even took my Valentine out there once, and I think that was like the sexiest thing she probably ever saw. But like, you know, like just I would just space out, dude. Jazz music, blues, classical. Like I'm more like on the pianist side of things. Like, you know, the whole orchestra, I find that beautiful too. But it's not something I consciously go to. You know, instrumentals I love, lo-fi of course. I mean, that's kind of like the boundaries I touch. But off the top of my head, yeah, man, jazz, blues music, man.
So you're also a producer, right? Well, you're mainly a producer.
I'd say if I had to pick a word, I don't want to be like that indie,
being
like,
labeled as
I don't want to also be that type of dude that's like, no man, I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm this, you know. I find myself as like, I just want to keep it simple. Just say, yo, I like making music.
I like music.
You know,
okay.
if I had to pick a particular position, I'd say maybe a beat maker, producer probably describes me a bit more accurately. Rap is something that I do. You know, DJing and like, you know, live performance stuff is stuff that like I've done in like on like really small acts. And like that I know I could do with the tools that I have.
Right.
So, you know, but I think, yeah, producer probably fits the word. I think that word now is like means a whole lot more than it did.
Right.
I think it first came out. And
I
stuff
think
like that,
back in the day, people didn't really think of producers as a important part.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays it's like almost the upside, like the other way around. Now it's like producers. You don't even have to be a good rapper.
Yeah.
You know, to make good music now.
Yeah,
you know?
man. Producers on the real, like, I really think they're overlooked. Like, you know, like Drake is a household name at this point, but like
he doesn't make he doesn't produce a lot of his shit.
I don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, to be honest with you. But like, you know, the main guy behind the stuff, to my understanding, is 40.
Yeah.
You know, but like, how many people know about him?
Not a lot.
I don't really think he does it for like the fame or whatever. But like, you know, like what I'm trying to say is that like producers really get overlooked, but they're so overwhelmingly responsible for so much. You know, it's not just the beat. Like, you know, you're crafting a mood. You know, it has to, at least for me. I think really good producers that I like, you know, seriously value and respect. You don't just make a beat; you also make a sound world, and like, you know, everything has to fit together. The
producer has to pretty much make a story out of those sounds, right?
Yeah.
Like how the kind of, if it's gonna be like for example in rap, if it's gonna be a storytelling rap, or if it's gonna be so like this, they're like the bone structure, the skeletal parts of the music, and the people that actually like rapping and stuff like that's like the muscle part of it.
Yeah, I think every producer has a different philosophy. You know, I think It depends. Like, let's say if you're like some big act, like I don't know, off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm thinking more of like the house music side, EDM side. But let's
Mm-hmm.
say Swedish House Mafia.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure. You know, I'm not. I don't really know their stuff to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. But like you would, let's say the song, like they're the artist, right? And then they might say featuring some rapper. You know what I mean? So I think the whole approach is different depending on the track, who's it for, all that good stuff. I think the producer, at least in my opinion, is like, yes, the guy who makes the framework,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also like, you know, you see a conductor at
Yeah.
an orchestra,
Yeah.
like he might not be exactly responsible for every single thing that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
but like he might compose the whole piece, he might lead the direction, the feeling of it. So it's a very high level stuff, but like it creates so much, you know. So
Right. So, your new album just dropped,
yes,
right?
yes.
Tell us a little bit, tell us and the audience a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So the EP is called Childish Dreams.
Uh-huh.
It's weird. Like every song on that EP was like by accident.
What do you
Like
mean by accident?
like I created it by accident. So, well, except the intro, because the intro was like the very last song. But basically, like when I make music, it's not like I just sit down and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna make this."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I might attempt to. It will completely evolve into something else. So these beats were like basically a lot of stuff that I had laying around, and I felt like they were very powerful on their own, but like I wanted to do like a project that like that had, it wasn't just one thing, like just another song I just upload somewhere. I wanted it to be like a body of work that like each thing sat on itself, but then also like served a larger purpose. So these songs I felt like fit the idea of like a sort of dreamy aspect and
Mm-hmm.
sort of like a childlike aspect. And at the time too, like music and me, like something I've been on and off with and like doing. And it's kind of an emotional plea because in some level it's like an admission that this might just be a dream, hence the name, like Childish Dreams. Like dreams are childlike in nature. They're very like, you excited when you a kid, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be an astronaut and do all
Mm-hmm.
this and that, and then you get older and it's like, yeah, you're still totally able to do it, but then at the same time it's like, things you gotta handle and stuff like that. So like maintaining the dream is childish in a sort of way,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an emotional plea and like a sort of like, I guess, paradising myself, if that makes any sense. And yeah, it's basically a dream sequence. Intro dormirse. I'm Latino, guys, by the way, for y'all don't know out there. Dominican and Honduran specifically. But I still can't fucking speak Spanish, right? Fuck. Sorry, mom and dad. So intro dormirse, there you go, is basically the beginning of the dream sequence. In the song, like, it's like I'm entering a room,
Mm-hmm.
my room, and I drift off into sleep. And that's where it gets kind of dreamy when the whole arrangement comes in. I have this like chord playing, and that's sort of like the beginning of the EP. And then it fades in to Masks in Conversation, which is basically I'm in like hell in that dream. So let's say you fall asleep, implying you fall.
Right.
That's what dormirse means, like fall asleep. So you're falling in the dream. If there's like a sense of direction, you're hitting down. So Masks and Conversations, like me at the bottom, like I'm at the very base of my unconscious, which is hell. And the Masks in Conversation is like multiple masks that I might have lying within me. They might embody different personas, different perspectives. The whole general feel of the song is like, there's a lot of distortion and like, like kind of like crisp drum lines and everything. The choice of words I use can be pretty harsh. And all of that is to like sort of like express like a sort of general angst I might have, a general anger, a general like opinions that might not like be compatible with each other. So the whole imagery of the song that I had in mind, the whole style of it was like, I got different parts of me in conversation, hence masculine conversation. They're arguing with each other, and they make us, that's what the song is, like general, I guess, sonic articulation of that general feeling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So are you? That's pretty dope, man. That's a lot of deep stuff.
Thank you. Oh shit! Wait, I wasn't actually now think about it. I still got 3 more tracks to cover on that. Kid High with My Satellite is an imaginary part of the dream. They fade into each other. Massive conversation to Kid High with My Satellite, and they fade into each other. It's like a radio tuning. The name of the radio station, I don't know if anybody caught on to it, is WTLMFAO radio, which is what the fuck, laughing my fucking ass off radio. So
is it actual radio station?
I hope not, man. I hope I don't get fucking sued if shit ever gets big. But in that dream sequence, right? Like I, through my higher self, is in space, right? And I'm tuning into this radio show, and the radio host is like, who's this, whatever, and then the whole song is basically like me, like fucking on the radio talking to the radio host, giving the beat and everything, and it's a reflection of like sort of how I feel my life up until this point has been. And like it's like kind of like in halves. So pre-chorus is like I'm reflecting and stuff. What's it called? Pre-chorus is me reflecting and stuff, and then it's sort of like explaining my woes. But then like that part of me is like, nah, I want to switch to like something higher. And then, the later half of that song is kind of like me reflecting on how I feel like I've reached a place in my life where I'm better. And so like, to provide the imagery, the guy's on the earth, he's grounded, right? Now I'm like in a higher mood, not that I'm higher above him, but like I feel like I'm in a greater place. I feel better and all that good stuff. So, I'm saying in the song basically like, this is a great feeling. Like for most of my life, I didn't feel like I had this feeling, like this good sort of like positivity or like, potential. So that, I'm like a kid. I'm like high, like, I'm like this childlike high, and I'm in space on my satellite, reaching out to you. Like in the chorus, I say like, just like sing it with me. It's a great feeling that I want to share. I think also part of me was like, I always look at my little brothers and cousins as like kids, even though they're like teens now. So, now I think about it, maybe it's sort of like an unconscious way of me like saying to them like, like this could be you too, this feeling that I have, this good feeling that I have, like you can join it too. Then Kiwi Juice is I don't know, it's just a creative title I came up with.
Kiwi, just an interesting name.
Yeah, it's I made the beat first, and then the title came in mind. Sometimes I feel like titles and the songs like they influence each other, So the beat itself was like very sexy, and I felt like Kiwi Juice is like
it's a sexy fruit.
Yeah, it's a sexy sort of like element to it, like this sweet, but I don't know, sonically it just felt like a sexy song. So that song is just straight up some nasty shit. just some passionate. Basically, I'm like, in the sequence, like saying like, oh, I met this woman at a bar, and like just kicking it off, whatever,
And you fed her kiwi and shit.
Yeah. Nah, I just use my words, man. Yeah, maybe we have some fucking cocktail that's out there, whatever. I know she had a cocktail, and then with some kiwis in it. That was kind of a cheesy.
So this is based off a real story.
I'm gonna defer on that one, and yeah, so it's just like a lustful song, very passionate song. Part of the dream sequence and like articulating, that more. Passionate side. And then the last song, Just Me, is that way that song began was really wild. Like I mentioned, like I was playing around with like music, like I didn't have a particular direction.
Right.
And on the push 2, like I hit a chord that was just so beautiful to me, and I was like, wow, yo, this is so good. I remember looping that thing, and like everything about the thing just kind of like drew out of me. The drum sequence and, you know, the words was like, yo, it's just me. Like everything just lined up. And you know, to be real with you, like when I'm making music, like I'm like researching myself, because it came out of me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, well, what's this mean? You know, this synthesis, this noise, like it sounds so hypnotic, melodic, and like kind of sad almost, but like, you know, sort of like full of passion. And then the yo, it's just me. Like that just it sounded like a cool line to say, but why did it sound like a cool line to say? So it's like really digging at myself. And then I didn't really have words for the song besides just that. And then you know, it sounded like something about loneliness and melancholy and like, you know, passion, a little bit of love. So for me, I was like dissecting myself along the way while I was making it. And in that song, basically, it's like, you know, I'm on the phone with what I would attribute to, let's say, a woman, but that woman is also like a general embodiment of everybody I know. And I'm just saying, like, you know, they might have preconceptions of me, what I should be, what I am, you know, for whatever reason, like, you know, whatever information I give off. But like, you know, this sort of, I'm pretty stoic, I guess, on a day-to-day basis, so I don't really know how emotive people know I could be. So in the song, I'm basically just saying like, yo, like, you know, like let go of what you knew of me. Like, you know, I feel so, you know, being alone is a double-edged sword, because like I think in our world today, like everybody's like,
I gotta have somebody next to me all the time.
it's kind of fucking annoying, to be honest with you. Like, you know, this extreme like extroversion, and then, you know, with social media and all that shit, like, you know, you gotta always be with people. But
Yeah,
honestly, like the most profound moments of my life, like, not to disrespect anybody I know or love, but like has been when I've been alone, you know, and that's when I feel like the creative juices come out. So just me is saying like, yo, like to this woman, to this general embodiment of everybody I know, and like, you know, the women I deal with, it's just like, I know it's weird that I want to be alone, but I feel like the real me when I'm alone. Like I feel like on some real shit. Like I feel like magic. That's where this whole thing came out of, when I was alone. And that's basically what it is. In the end, you know, the sounds change and it's like, you know, amping up. Sounds pretty fucking cool if you ask me. You know, getting like to this more like techno-y, like amped up trance vibe. It's a sort of like climax of the whole thing, and it's like, yo, yes, it's just me, but I'm cool with that. I love that, and I'm gonna roll with it. Like, you know, being alone is like going to the abyss, the void. It's very scary to most people that are trained to be constantly with everybody.
with somebody,
but
right?
like, you know, if you had to put in like the hero's journey, whatever, that it's so necessary to create the magic. And that's what it is. It's like the moment of courage and self acceptance. Like, yo, nah, like I might be on this road alone. It might not make sense to everybody, but this is how I feel. And then that's kind of where the EP ends off. And
Yeah, man, I could definitely relate to the, you know, being alone part. I think that's the time that you grow and you get like the self actualization and stuff like
absolutely.
that. And yeah, like definitely, like nowadays everybody gets so caught up into shit. I gotta, you know, be with, because if I'm like down and all, I'm not saying like me personally, that's what I've like observed and noticed, that when people feel down, a lot of the times people need other people's validation. But like I can only speak for myself, because when I feel down and out, I kind of disappear from everybody. I really need to be on my own and recharge myself, and I come back. And I feel like those like lone moments, you really need that, because that's when you really figure out, all right, what am I really about? Like, and you get those insights of like, holy shit, actually sometimes being alone, that's like the most peaceful time, and it's fun sometimes, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's where a lot of the creativity comes from. I don't think, well, creativity comes from being around people too, but I feel like the meaningful creativity within you comes from when you're alone and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my heroes in and out of music, you know, that's when like their eureka moment was when they were alone. Nikola Tesla, you know, that dude was like
Einstein too. Like,
Einstein. You know. Who else was the other dude? who's the other big math science dude? Newton. There you go.
Yeah.
The dude just practically invented calculus on some fucking dare or some shit. I don't know.
I feel like every great things came from being alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the other things, just the collaboration just came from like all these minds that were alone and collective minds and just trying to create something bigger than them. But I feel like the rawness of like those ideas came from somebody being alone somewhere.
Yeah.
Like musicians, like they always, like a lot of artists, when they create music, they're alone. You know what I mean?
Yup.
So
100%, man. It's a lonely journey.
So it sounds like there's a lot of introspection that goes into your music. I was wondering if that's something that happens after you record a track, or is that something that you're thinking about beforehand and you're like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what music or what sounds can go with this theme. And I know you mentioned like Carl Jung is a influence for you.
Yeah.
So do you always have like him in the back of your mind, or?
I find it happens like there's no particular one. I mean, I might sometimes like, you know, tackle a certain track a certain way. I feel like I just try to be as loose as possible. Anytime I felt like I've tried to get something out of it, and like obviously the goal is to like make music, but it's like you see what like I don't know if I can like really angle it right, but like when I'm trying to do something for something, it never feels honest to me, and I feel like I always hate it in the end. So with me, like I do something when I approach music, I'm introspective throughout the entire thing. Like, you know, if I let's say if I make a sound by accident, I'll explore that. Be like, oh, okay, cool. Where's this going? You know, if I throughout the track process, like I'm asking myself, yes, where's this going? What am I feeling? What am I trying to say? What is the song trying to say? Like, you know, I never at any point in time during like the music making process sort of like think or try very hard to not think about like how does this fit in the world? Like I try to like, you know, I could easily do trap music. I could easily do EDM music. I could easily do like lo-fi music. Lo-fi music I love, but it's just, you know, what basically through those sort of like sound styles, like there's a lot of like repeat work, you know, that a lot of ground has already been covered. I never in any like way sort of like make a song with the intent purpose of like getting numbers. And it sucks because like that's what keeps me so unknown, but then it's like, you know, it's like I'm making a sort of like a child in a way, or like I'm creating life, like, you know, like I want to be honest with it, you know. I don't want to make some abomination that like, you know, I'm like, oh fuck man, this thing you know happened because of me, or I'm not proud of it. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. It's like, you know, I'm trying to be honest and figure out what's going on with the song in itself. You know, sometimes I feel like ideas might have me rather than I have them, you know, and I'm trying to figure out why, like, you know, like what is trying to be expressed through me, through my body of experience, you know, and explore that. So I think that sort of mental framework that I keep while I make things allows me to create things that I regard as like pretty fresh and like different from like what's out there in the wild. Yeah.
So you think like that's what we missing in the music industry nowadays is just the honesty and the rawness of, because I feel like, you know, all this music that's being released, well then it's subjective, right?
Yeah.
Whatever I may think is dope, somebody may think is trash, right? But what I'm realizing that like we're missing that honesty because everybody's trying to replicate the same sound, the same type of you know, something that's, you know, selling a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I get it. Like you have to ring their cash register another day. It's a business. But what's your take on like people like, well, artists trying to? Is it the artist? Do you think artists have more say on their creativeness, or like I feel like
I have no idea, to be honest. Like everything I've done is like super solitude. I'm assuming like you reach a certain level, there's a lot of factors that might influence like direction your sound takes. I think it takes an incredibly like strong will to like keep honest with it. I'd like to see more people be like, at least try to be different. You know what I'm saying? Like every beat, at least in the mainstream, like, you know, I think naturally there'll always be mainstream and underground, you know, and like it, to me, like my wild dream is just like wild, crazy music that's never, and it already exists out there, but just I want that in mass. And I feel like, you know, I don't want to hear cut and paste shit. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the rhythms and song structures, the content, everything is like, you know, there's only so much that can be varied under the sun because like, you know, only so much can be said. But like, you know, at least from like growing up, right? Hip hop and R&B. The cool thing was to be original. You know, like Busta had his flow. Tribe Called Quest had their flow. Nas had his flow. Jay-Z his flow. Everybody, and I'm missing so many great artists, but like, you know, everybody made it their business to like be special and unique.
Be different, and
you know, and then now it's like kind of irritating. I think there's a couple of reasons for why this might have happened, but I find it kind of irritating that like everything for a large part is 808s, and I love it because, you know, hey, my birthday's in August, so like, you know, appeals to my ego, but like it's just sonically just like it's not enough, man. Some of that I think is because like, you know, the whole issue with sampling. So, you know, back then like sampling was the thing, and you can convey so much through various samples, but then like, you know, when song rights and copyright is like into play, like the safest thing you could do is like take a stock sound, like an 808, whatever. And I know everybody does a lot of customizations and shit like that, but you know, I would like to just see more in the mainstream because I know it already exists in the underground. There's just so much creative music out there, like in New York. I mean, shout out to the whole Midnight Collective. Like those cats are pretty like, yo, they're like masterclass producers. Riser, Mio Soul. I'm missing so many, you know, like they're insane. I mean, like, you know, there's just wild creativity out there that's not being like noticed. The whole Korea, I was in Korea 2 years ago. The whole Korean underground, Itaewon, it's like I felt like I was in home, dude. I went to Cake Shop Seoul, and that was the most beautiful experience ever. Because it was like, imagine you such a loner in your room creating and exploring these sounds. And then, like, you know, where do you go? Like, I can't go to freaking, like, some bitch-ass club. They're like, you know, it's playing reggaeton and hip-hop. And, like, no disrespect to those genres, whatever. But, like I'm looking for something different. And, like, if I'm hearing the same things over and over again, I'm not inspired. And it makes me feel like, fuck, like, dude, I'm making things that are totally not in the world I'm in. So for me to go to a place like Cake Shop Soul or meet people like Midnight Collective that like they're doing the exact things that like I listen to when I'm alone, it's like heaven, dude. Like I remember there's this one really dope DJ, Lee Visa. She played Daft Punk's "Oh Yeah" track, right? Dude, I've never heard that song outside the context of like my house, you know? Like, no one would play it, you know? But she played it, dude. And, like, it made sense, dude. It's like, wow, you see people dancing to shit you thought you privately loved. And it's like, wow, okay, it exists out there. And then she would mix it up with some cool shit like, I don't know, fucking Paul Wall sitting sideways. And, like, the transition is not exact. But, like, you know, you get what I'm saying? Like, so much was covered. There's just so much wildness and creativity out there that I would love to see explored a bit more in the mainstream. Yeah, that was a lot.
No, I definitely agree, but
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big alternative rock, punk rock kind of guy. That's kind of what the area of music that I always lean to.
Okay.
And so you don't hear that kind of music, those kinds of bands anymore on the radio. At least not to the extent that you hear a lot of like hip hop or like electronic music. So it's always good to like see one of your favorite bands like come down to Brooklyn or come play, you know, at some venue in New York City and just be surrounded by their fans and be like, okay, I'm not the only one.
It's an otherworldly feeling. By the way, I haven't made the label yet, but I mean, I don't know when the fuck I'm gonna do it, but I think Otherworldly will be a dope ass record label name. I'm sure these already exist. That's completely off tangent from what you just said, but yeah, like the feeling is otherworldly. Like it's like you said, like it's solitude's a great thing. It's necessary for the creative process, but like we're still human. We're social creatures, and like when it comes together in harmony with other people that like your stuff, I mean, it's just a great feeling. It's so cool to see somebody you saw online and like you're so passionate about, and then you see them live. It's like, yo, that's my favorite artist. Like, look, they're here in front of me, and it's just happy because it's like you win too, man. It's like a sort of external valid. Oh, I just realized I have a hole in my sock. I hope I don't look too broke. But anyways, yeah, nah. It's a whole. It's like a validation of like, yo, like, nah. What I dig is valuable. Like it's not just me. Like I'm not crazy. Like other people believe in this thing too. So yeah, I fucking love it. And like people.
Yeah, and it's a very beautiful thing. Like the thoughts that goes in your mind, similar type of, not the same, but like very similar type of things goes in somebody else's mind. And I feel like music, that's that connects it in a way.
Yeah, music, man. Music to me is like let's say on an intellectual level, right? If you break it down, what the fuck is happening, dude? We're like these like organisms, these evolved primates that are just fucking dancing to vibrations in the air.
Vibration, exactly.
And then like these vibrations like have a mathematical harmony, and all this good stuff. And then like there's just so many different ways you can take it, and we dance to it, we celebrate to it, we cry to it, we fucking do so much. Like music is a very, very, very trippy thing, man.
It's a type of energy that I would like to think, because like all these energies, like they transfer state through vibration and wavelength stuff like that.
I feel like it's reality, the universe's way of honestly like communicating to people, and the medium happens to be music. And you see, when you frame it like that, right, it's not just like some cheap thing you pay fucking 99 cents for. It's not just something you listen as the backdrop of like whatever to fill elevator time or like fill up a fucking mall's like energy with. It's so holy, and it's magical. Like I don't know what other words to describe it with. That's my feeling with what music represents or is or should be.
Besides having to go to Korea, is there any place in New York City that you can kind of go and see an artist that you can relate to?
Man, dude, I'm still asking myself that question. Like Midnight Collective, definitely. They're more on the, I'd say, borderline between like they're underground, because like obviously they're not like mainstream acts, like whatever, but they kind of touch on it. I have serious respect for the producers there, their work. Elsewhere for sure, like as a venue, is just, dude, I mean, Park Hye-jin was just there. I'm super like tight. I didn't get to see. I actually got fucking scammed by some fucking fake account on Facebook.
No way.
Dude, yeah.
They took your money and shit, or?
I mean, it was just PayPal, so like they ain't got my like financial information because the tickets were sold out.
Right.
And like I just tried to buy it off somebody, and I didn't fucking realize it because I was so excited. But then I look at the person's name on Facebook versus the email address, and I'm like, dude, I'm a fucking idiot. How the fuck did I not notice? But whatever. $20 gone. I don't give a fuck.
Lesson learned.
Yeah. Nah, I ended up going, dude. I ended up I think making music, fucking like turn my sadness and anger into something
blissful.
Yeah, blissful and productive. I saw Yeji out there. She's awesome. I met her briefly. She probably ain't gonna remember me. She's so sweet. I mean, I felt like a huge fanboy. I was like, oh shit, it's somebody that I listen to and they're here in front of me, and it's really weird because in your mind, just in your mind. In your mind, they're like this big thing, and they are, but they seem so out of reach. And you meet them in person, they're so human, Yeah, it's nuts. So I get elsewhere. I think Bossa Nova, I think Civic Club. I've never been there, but I follow their IG and like it seems like they're really like good with underground techno and house music. So I gotta definitely make a pit stop out there. Yeah.
If you had to pick some artists to collaborate with, like 5 artists.
Right now?
Yeah, off the top of your head, if you can.
Shit. Dude.
Any genre.
Any genre?
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is like candy. I think MF Doom for sure, cause like the whole act of like 2 dudes in a mask would be amazing, and like
Pause. I had to say that.
And we legit pausing?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, it was just
Oh, okay. Anyways, like he's probably one of the best rappers I ever heard. It's like it's not even the whole like sort of imagery of him, like just like the way he layers rhymes and like the things he explores, like amazing. I would definitely love to work with him. Definitely love to work with, you know, Madlib. I mean, he's an amazing producer as well. I don't know, man. Sometimes I feel like I'd be so starstruck that I don't even know if I can get anything done. Flying Lotus, because he's like a genius, man. Park Hedgen and Yeji and Peggy Goo and like so many underground like Korean artists that like I don't even know their name, but like I've seen them live, in Cake Shop or whatever. Yeah, nah, man. It's just too much. But of those names I mentioned, of course them, yeah.
Is there any upcoming shows that you're doing?
That's some shit I got a plan for.
Okay.
You know, me, I make a lot of shit, like I said, in solitude. So, you know, it's honestly my own fault. Like, I don't reach out as often as I should. You know, shit happens. So I think I might hit up Midnight Collective. Well, you know, see what's good with them. This is the Brooklyn Beat Syndicate. I might hit them up. I don't really know. If you're out there watching this and you're interested in me, fucking hire me. I'll blend up some shit with hip hop, house techno. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. I don't know if that sounds cringy, like, hey man, please give me a gig, but
nah, man.
Yeah, I mean,
if you don't ask, you don't get. End of the day, so
nothing like set in stone right now, but like, you know, I mean, definitely in 2020, like I gotta pick up the game because you know, it's just so much to fucking say and do. So yeah,
I got you. So where can people, you know, learn and find about more of your work? And
honestly, like, I mean, my phone's in my pocket, like, you know. I'm pretty fucking open. Like, I'm not a fucking dickhead, you know. People want to hit me up, message me on IG. IG's a little weird, so like there's like 2 tiers of like inboxes. You get inbox and then you get general. Sometimes I don't get the general notification, but like, you know, I'm like starving for fucking somebody to be like, yo man, I think you're so fucking amazing that like I check the shit OD anyway. So like if you want to hit me up on Instagram, that's cool. Check me out, whatever, the comments, fucking, I got a YouTube channel that's like, I got fucking 7 subscribers, dude. It's a pretty young thing. So like, you know, it's growing, whatever. Email me, justinyourmind@gmail.com.
We'll tag those stuff too.
Cool.
So
cool. I gotta get good at this whole self-promotion thing, you know? Justin Your Minds, you can find me on Instagram, SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all those like, you know, music streaming platforms. Social media, I have a Twitter because like I wanted, I don't know. People keep fucking saying, hey man, you need a Twitter. I'm like, all right, cool, but like what the fuck I'm gonna tweet about to who? So I just want to get that handle. Gmail, obviously. I have a fucking TikTok because like, you know, I don't fucking know. Everybody's raving about that shit nowadays. Obviously Instagram, I may have said that already. Yeah, you guys can find me on that platform. Email's cool too. Hit me out. I'd love to chat. Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah, man. What do you think about a performance?
Okay, I'm a little shy, but yeah, I could do something.
Awesome. So let's go over to that. Cool. I think that would be pretty dope.
Cool.
Little something for the audiences.
Empty your mind.
see what's blinding me. Find what's inside of me. Hard to see when I'm still blind to me. Monstrously I fight and argue me, yo. And the change is strange to me. Strange it seems, the strange is changing me. The changing scenes and even the stranger things arranging me in ways that's haranguing me. Nah, I don't wanna talk your talk. Nah, I don't wanna walk your way. I just wanna go home, make some music, learn some code, and go get paid. And too much there is to say, and so much left for me to do. You can see what I could be. A high for me, good luck, I could barely hide from me. High, now run this high, that work, that's high. Now run this high, what? That's high. Now run this high, now put that what? That's high. Now run this high, high.
Dude, that was a dope performance.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
out.
Thank you for having me.
Where can someone find about your music and your next album and the album that you currently have out?
Yeah. I'm available on all major streaming channels. So, YouTube, Spotify, I even got my shit on TikTok. I don't know why, but hopefully people can do some dance with my shit. I should be out on Pandora on sometime soon. Apple Music, of course, SoundCloud. Take your pick, but y'all find me there. And the next project is going to be probably more techno-based, electronic focused, a little bit light of MCing, but probably touching more on the 4x4, 120 beats per minute type of side. So yeah.
Awesome, dude. Can't wait for that to come out.
Cool. Well, yo,
Appreciate
thanks again,
you.
bro. Thank you.
Take care.